How long have you had the tremor?
Since I was 50, so 17 years.
Okay.
18
and
years.
How has it affected you?
Well, I had to retire from my job because I was a computer analyst. And at first, the tremors were, people would say to me, why is your head shaking or why are your hands shaking? And I'd say, no, they're not doing that. But it finally got to the point where I couldn't control a mouse unless I did it this way. And then I couldn't key properly. And then I had a fall. And my doctors, the neurologist had been telling me for 2 years, you've got to retire on disability. And I didn't want to. Because I liked my job and I liked making lots of money, which I did. And, but finally my father was dying and I was 62 and I said, I give up. I can't sit in a chair for very long anymore. I tremble all the time. I can't feed myself. And so I went down and applied for Social Security, and then I waited 6 months and applied for disability. And everybody warned me, oh, it'll take you 2 or 3 years, you'll have to go to court. And a guy from Social Security called me and asked me about intentional tremors. And I said to him, I would love to be able to work. I love working. I said, I make money, I'm out among people, I enjoy my work. I said, but nobody's going to hire me. I can't sit at a computer for very long. I can't use a mouse. I can't key. It kept getting worse. I kept going back to my neurologist and saying, and he kept upping my dose and upping my dose. And finally, he told me that he thought I had Parkinson's. And he upped my dose to 6 250 milligram pills a day. And within a month, I couldn't drive. I couldn't, I was very unsteady. So I had a walker that I bought for my aunt when she was visiting. And one night in September, it never occurred to me that it was the medicine. I just figured I was going to get worse. And in September, the night before Labor Day, I got up and I already had a rail by the bed. I'd already put everything around. And the room went that way and I went with it. And I broke my left hip. And when I got to the hospital, well, I was unconscious when I got to the hospital and the ER and everything. Next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital room and a guy standing there and awake saying, you broke your left hip, I'll operate tomorrow. And oh, by the way, you could die. And I said, well, I won't, you know. And, but the day after the surgery, a neurologist came to see me and he said, you are taking way too much medicine. He said, you are taking double the allotted amount. And as soon as he took me off the higher dose, I wasn't dizzy anymore. But I still had, you know, this. And this just kept getting worse. Now, I mean, I take 3 a day, but if I don't take them, I'm much worse. But if I do take them, I still shake. Like night before last, I couldn't even peel and cut a cucumber or tomatoes just to feed myself. You know, and when I try to cook and I stir things, you know, things go this way and that way, and it's very frustrating. And it's frustrating to even try to read a book or a newspaper because I'm like that. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's funny, I sit in my dad's recliner. And when I first came home from the nursing home with my hip, a friend of mine was staying with me. And I said to him, because he had installed a new ceiling fan, I said, that ceiling fan is squeaking. He said, no, it's not the fan. I said, what is it? He said, it's you. He said, it's the chair. You're constantly moving, you know, and it squeaks. And I went, oh, great. And the very first thing he said to me, he looked at my file a little bit, and he turned around and he said to me, have you ever thought of DBS? I said, what the hell is that? He said, well, it's a brain procedure that could help you with your tremors. He says, you go home and look it up on the internet. Well, I didn't go back to my old neurologist. I figured if he didn't know enough to know that that was too much medicine, I didn't want it. And I met a new one in Sun City, and he recommended me to Dr. Zezowitz. Yeah. Well, the next day did.
Okay.
The very next day, when they released me, they asked me to sign my name. And for the first time in 17 years, I was able to recognize my signature. I mean, my bank doesn't even look at my signature anymore because it's degraded so horribly. I used to have beautiful handwriting. People used to always comment me. And I signed my name and it was there, like my real signature. And I thought, I didn't think this thing was turned on. And nobody said anything about the honeymoon period till I came and saw. And by then, of course, it was gone. It only lasted 2 or 3 days.
Okay. So writing was important to you, and you lost the ability to write.
Extremely important.
And how about eating? You had mentioned. How about dressing? Are you able to button your buttons?
No, I put this on pre-buttoned.
Okay.
I don't unbutton it when I wash it.
Is there anything else that's stopping the tremors going to affect your life? Any other?
I can't do zippers.
Okay.
I have a beautiful outfit that I had to wear to a friend's funeral early this year. And I had to call my neighbor over because it was snaps and little hooks. And I hadn't worn it in years, you know, because I just hadn't had occasion. But I couldn't dress myself. So I called my neighbor. I said, could you come over and button this top for me? Because I really wanted to look nice. It was a dear friend of mine, you know. And, but I would say the hardest thing is, even now, my ability to use the computer is much diminished. And I worked on computer systems for 46 years. You know, I designed the part system for the F-22 Raptor. I mean, I did big things. And I use my brain a lot. And I can't do that because everything shakes so bad.
Okay. What we're going to do now, Arlene, is I'm going to do a quick test to see the tremor in certain different positions. We're going to test the electrodes and find a combination that we're banking on will stop that tremor.
Okay.